Hey friends, welcome to the third installment in my video series, What to Expect When You're Collecting. Today, we'll talk about Earthling Publications. I don't recall when Earthling popped up onto my radar. Maybe it was with Blood-Stained Oz, a twisted retelling of The Wizard of Oz, written by Christopher Golden and James Moore, which has gone on to become a trilogy with Bloodstained Wonderland and the soon-to-be released Bloodstained Neverland. Very cool series if you can find it. I don't know when Bloodstained Neverland will be out, but once I learned about Earthling, it didn't take long for me to look at all the other titles and authors in their catalog and know I found a publisher I would be following for a long time. Like a lot of publishers I collect, Earthling is a one-man shop, and like a lot of the publishers I collect, that man's first name is Paul. Paul Miller, out of Massachusetts, does everything for Earthling Publications, the page design, the layout, the marketing, the warehouse work, everything. I mean, really, it's quite remarkable. And what makes it even more crazy is that he's got a master's in neuroscience, and his day job, oh yeah, Earthling's just his side hustle. His day job is that he writes for pharmaceutical companies. But he has time to do all kinds of things for Earthling, and we are happy that his side hustle is so tremendous. Now, the price with Earthling Publications is just like SST, and probably due in large part to the slim nature of the payroll at Earthling. The prices are very reasonable. They range from $50 to, actually, they range from $35 to about $250. He recently did Dune, and that was a $600 book, so that's an outlier. But on average, the books cost roughly between $50 to $80. And what are the selection of those books, you may ask, because I can't hear you, so you may have. They're horror. He does horror. Beautiful, delicious, dark horror. Basically nothing but horror. He publishes less frequently than a lot of the other publishers I collect. The biggest title of the year is usually the Halloween series book, which includes, I think, 18 or 19 books so far, if you consider the first book was book 0. And it's once a year, so he's been doing it for about 2 decades. He skipped 1 year, but, you know, we can forgive him. It's an incredible series, and it's introduced me to a lot of my current must-read authors. Fracassi, Mallerman, Sarah Pinborough, they are all in the Halloween series. Now, Earthling also does something unlike any other publisher I collect, and that is first editions. Paul Miller always does the first edition. Well, I don't want to say always, because there are some books that he does a limited edition for that were previously available. So Weave World, Hellbound Heart, for example, Inspection. Those are titles that were previously published and then saw life as an Earthling publication. But by and large, he does the first appearance of these stories. And there are also limited editions. It's pretty cool. It's not common in a lot of the small press, indie press world. It's a big gamble for a small press to do an unproven title. And kudos to Paul for doing that. The average Earthling edition doesn't come with a slipcase. It'll have a beautiful dust jacket with original artwork. It'll have a illustrated signature sheet, very nice end papers, a cloth board with some foil stamping on the spine, but usually the front board is unadorned. And the paper quality is the same across editions. It's some bright white paper that makes an easier reading experience for aged eyes, I've found. While there are often no interior illustrations, there are sometimes interesting chapter headings and other design details throughout the books. But by and large, they are a beautiful hardcover with a signature sheet at a very reasonable price. And also, when you add in the fact that these are the first editions of these books and you could read them nowhere else, it is really a tremendous value. Their print runs are usually around 500 copies. Ghoul N the Cape went up to 1,000. But almost every other title I've been looking at is about 500. They do go as low as 235. For example, Gothic was a print run of only 235, and Inspection by Josh Malerman was also a reduced release, but those are exceptions rather than the rule. Earthling often offers 2 levels of every book they do. So they'll do a numbered edition and a lettered edition. The lettered edition often has a print run of only 15, and they are not released alongside the numbered edition. In fact, it can be years before a lettered edition is produced. Their lettered editions are just gorgeous, mind-blowingly awesome. I have not collected a lettered edition from Earthling. I've by and large stuck with the numbered, but the images I've seen around Facebook and other social media platforms demonstrate what Paul Miller does when he pulls out all the stops. Buying from Earthling Publications is a newsletter dependent endeavor because they publish so infrequently, with the Halloween title being once a year and then maybe 3 other titles throughout the year. Earthling isn't flooding the market with publications. And because of that, you've got to subscribe to the newsletter to know when a new title is coming along and also when new titles are shipping. But most of the buying takes place via the newsletter. He'll tease things in the email that are upcoming and when new titles are in the offing. And then you just have to be there when he says, hey, I'm opening the window up for pre-orders. Some titles zip right out. They sell fast, like Dark Across the Bay from Anya Alborn. I think that sold out in like a half an hour. And then other titles are inexplicably still available, like Ghoul N the Cape. So it's really hard to gauge demand for Earthling titles. It's largely an author by author basis. But what I have noticed is that when titles sell out, the secondary market explodes. Philip Fricassi's titles from Earthling are really hard to find, and when you find them, you're going to be paying a lot of money for those books. Same goes for Goblin by Josh Malerman. But then again, Ghoul N the Cape is still available at the published price, so there's really no rhyme or reason to it. Perhaps this video will show people what you're missing and therefore will clean out some of that back catalog because it is really tremendous stuff. I think Earthling is probably one of the most underrated publishers out there. When it comes to shipping, there's not a real long pre-order window experience because Paul takes the books as far as he can to completion, and that means from pre-order to shipping is a blessedly short wait time. And while Paul will communicate frequently about when you should expect to see these books, there is no shipping notice. This is the only publisher I collect that doesn't do a shipping notice. But I think Paul Miller does a good job of setting expectations. Hey, I'm getting these books in. You know, he communicates about matching numbers. Is there a number you would like to have? And so on, so that you have a good idea of when you should expect to see the books. And all I could say is have faith. The books will show up around the time period that Paul Miller outlines for everybody. But again, one-man show with a day job. And usually you could see on social media when people start to get the books in the mail. I will say a little hack you could do is sign up for informed delivery from the United States Post Office if that's available in your area. And of course, if you live in the United States, because that's how you'll get your shipping notice. You'll see when it's coming via those alerts. So now that I've told you all about the details of shipping and buying and Paul Miller, let's get into my favorite books from Earthling. First up is Boys in the Valley. This was my first Philip Fracassi read. It was Halloween series number 16, and I was instantly hooked. I have since read tons of stuff from Philip Fracassi. It's all gold. He is a brilliant heir to the throne of Stephen King. That is no hyperbole, and this book is exceptional. It has dust jacket art from Glenn Chadbourne. Beautiful purple end sheets, very cool end sheets. Again, a wonderfully constructed, beautiful hardcover. It is signed by Philip Fracassi and Andy Davison, who did the introduction. And an amazing, terrifying horror novel, the way you want it to be. Scary, creepy, and with a lot of heart. It's a coming of age story with all these orphans in an orphanage where orphans usually congregate, and then they have to deal with demonic possession. Boo! Amazing stuff. And of course, this was the first edition of this book. It has since been published in a trade hardcover, so good news, you can get it, because the Earthling edition has long been sold out. But if you want a very affordable reading experience of an amazing book, go get the Tornite Fire edition from wherever you buy your books, because it's everywhere. Also, 19th edition did a slipcase for this book, and because I am a huge fan of the book, I bought it, and now I have an Earthling edition with an aftermarket slipcase. But this is one of my absolute favorite books from Earthling Publications, and of course, an example of how Paul Miller has introduced me to an author I have to read all the time now. The second book I'd like to share with you is The Thicket by Joe Lansdale. This is one of the rare ones from Earthling that came with a slipcase. I think it was priced at $150. And it shows what Paul Miller does when he steps beyond the standard hardcover. This is a wonderful edition. It is published in bonded leather, I believe, or maybe just straight up leather. Beautiful dust jacket art by Ken Lager. There is also interior art in this edition, which sets it apart from other Earthling publications. And it has a ribbon page marker. But this story is absolutely one of my favorite Lansdale stories. And the Earthling edition is tremendous. Now, Earthling does have plans to do a lettered edition of this book, but so far that has not been produced, and it sounds like it would be an amazing edition. I've talked to Paul Miller a little bit about what would be involved with that, and some of the details he shared with me will make that a book very hard to pass up. The next book I'd like to share with you is The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. This is another Earthling publication that comes in a beautiful leather slipcase with artwork on the dust jacket by the man himself, as well as interior art on the signature page. That is Clive Barker's drawing of Pinhead. It includes bonus material and illustrations from the original work. And the front boards are also in bonded leather type material. One of my absolute favorite books by Clive Barker, and which went on to become an amazing series of movies. I took the opportunity to meet the individuals who played the Cenobites in Hellraiser and Hellbound Hellraiser 2, and I got them to sign my copy. Nicholas Vince, Simon Bamford, and Barbie Wilde. I also got Ashley Lawrence, who wrote the foreword, to sign. She played Kirsty in the movie Hellraiser. So I added value to my book, my copy, and it is one of my absolute favorite. Now, I can see how people will say, well, you shouldn't do that. They didn't write the book. The movie is a different medium, and don't mix your mediums. But I did it anyway because it's my book. So it's Beef Daddy's book. It's on my shelf, and I love it. Of course, I was a Clive Barker fan before I was a Hellraiser fan. So I always have preferred Clive's written word. But I did love Hellraiser. So there's that. The next book I want to share with you is Ghoul N the Cape, a stunning, massive, great American novel by Josh Malerman. This behemoth has only seen publication as an Earthling edition by a New York Times best-selling author, Josh Malerman, who wrote Bird Box, which was adapted by Netflix, which brought a lot of people to Josh Malerman's readership. And this was limited to 1,000 copies. It is over 700 pages, oversized edition. Beautiful art by David Palumbo. It also features foil stamping on the front board and illustrations, full color illustrations, I might add, throughout. And this book is an epic novel of a road trip of two guys trying to run away from apathy. No bullshit. That is pretty much what the book's about. It's trippier than that. It's more lyrical than that. And I just could not get enough of this book. It is a warning to people to not just swallow media narratives or what a political party is trying to sell you. That goes both ways. If you think this is leaning one way or the other, I didn't take it that way. I think it is a good message whether you are right or left on the political spectrum. Don't just swallow what these people are telling you. Maintain your critical thinking. Maintain open-mindedness and be open to evidence all around you. But I absolutely love this book. He shipped it with a promotional shot glass because Ghoul meets the Cape in a bar called Logan's, and that kicks off the entire adventure. And so for the first 48 hours of pre-ordering, you were able to get your copy of the book shipped with a shot glass. And again, that was limited to the people who ordered within the first 2 days of the pre-order window. Unbelievably, this book is still available if you'd like to order it. It's about 90% sold out as of this posting. And I got to say, anytime I'm talking about a book in these videos, you have to double check me because this video could be 3 years old by the time you've seen it. I don't know. You might jump on it right away. But always check. And right now, as of this posting, this book is 90% sold out, but it is still available. And I got to say, it is an amazing book. I love everything I've read by Josh Malerman. So I am a little bit biased, but it's such a cool book. And finally, I have saved the best for last. This is Inspection, also by Josh Malerman. This is the first book in Paul Miller's reimagined Modern Classics series. He did a Modern Classics series previously, and that apparently is concluded. But now he's firing it up again, and the first installment is Inspection by Josh Malerman. This is the book about a social experiment perpetrated upon a group of 26 boys called the Letter Boys. And I'm not going to say too much more beyond that. There's more to the book than that, but I don't want to spoil it for you all. This was one of my most favorite Malerman reads, but since then I've read other books. Titles do get shuffled, as I am amazed, but I bet you if I reread this, it would go right back to the top of my favorite Malerman reads. This book is published in red leather with silhouette of the Alphabet Boys all along the front and back boards with a solitary Alphabet Boy on the spine. The end papers are handwritten passages from the book. A wonderful signature sheet with art from Patrick R. Smith signed by Josh Malerman, Patrick R. Smith, and Jonathan Mayberry, who did the introduction. There are illustrations throughout and chapter divides. Also, this really awesome fold-out illustration and different paper stock than Earthling normally uses. This is much thicker. I gotta say, I've not read this edition. I've read Inspection previously, but when I do reread it, I'm going to read this book because it is just a stunner. It also comes in a slipcase with like a hard bonded leather type material that's elegant, fits the book wonderfully, and creates this shelf experience like no other. So this is my absolute favorite publication from Earthling. It is also the most expensive of all the Earthling publications I've purchased. This was $250, and it's completely sold out. You're going to have to go to the secondary. So good luck and happy hunting if you want a copy. Also had a very small print run of only 235. So it's smaller than normal for Earthling and more expensive. So that is it. I hope you got a sense of what Earthling offers. I hope you got excited about some of these selections. A lot are still available, so get over to the Earthling site, have a look. Some of my favorites that are still available, They Say a Girl Died Here Once, Ghoul N the Cape. Those are still there. Midas is still there. That's the new Halloween series title that I've read, and that is an amazing read. So go over there and see what speaks to you and buy with confidence. You're going to enjoy the reading experience. And again, you're going to read a book that's probably not available anywhere else. That's a cool benefit. I can't state enough how cool that is. You can't read Ghoul N the Cape anywhere else. A lot of fun. And these books, like the Philip Fracassi selections, may soon see a trade edition, but they might not. So I hope you learned a little bit about one of my favorite publishers. And I like doing these because, of course, I like reviewing all my favorite books. It gives me a chance to take them down off the shelf and brag about them. And I hope you enjoyed it too. So thank you for joining me this time. Hope to see you again next time. And in the meantime, stay frosty.